For the Steinbach Pistons, they were tops in the league last year, 42 regular season wins, 87 points at the end of it all, a goal away from a Manitoba Junior Hockey League championship in Game 7 of what was a classic series, one for the ages. Kevin, you got to see a number of Steinbach Pistons games last year. Another large amount of turnover, as we talked about with a team like the Duff Kings. When you're good, players leave even before they age out. How do you see the Steinbach Pistons, again, with pressure to win, deal with a new crop of players here going forward with expectations being high?
Death, taxes, and Paul Dick putting together a championship hockey team are pretty much, set it and forget it type scenarios. You walk into that rink and you see just the legacy that whole franchise denotes. It's really cool. The people there, Dave, you showed me a very good example of that too while I got to come and watch that. And you look at the players that were there, they're all bought in 100%. And like you said, it was a 1-goal game in that final, Game 7 of that final. I don't think there'll be any trouble. I know obviously you have to fill holes, and that's always a tough challenge to do. But as far as having faith in something happening like that, I have no doubt in Paul Dick's abilities, and obviously his staff deserve a lot of credit too, and the pieces that they've put in place. There's some very dynamic characters in that room I've had the pleasure of talking with in the past. You put the right guys on the ice and get the right attitude going forward, and I don't think there's anything that the Pistons can't do this year.
Darnell, Steinbach's in maybe the most interesting position when it comes to building a team for either home or away, and having to balance playing in the smaller TG Smith Center versus the bigger ice surfaces in the rest of the league. What are the kind of challenges that Steinbach maybe faces with that, and how do you find a balance?
Yeah, I think you have to find a pretty unique balance, because when you go in the TG, it's more cramped. You can't utilize that speed. Whereas you go to a rink, for instance, like Credit Union Place or Winkler, you can use that speed. You can utilize that speed. So you want to bring in players that at both times can do both things. They can play that rough, gritty, sandpaper style, but you also need players when you go to bigger facilities, can play, can skate, can use their speed. And I think Paul Dick has done a masterful job of that over the years. I mean, when you think of Steinbach, when you think of the Pistons, you think about an automatic title contender and almost making it to the finals every single year. I think, and also with that said, I think there's also pressure on players that come in, and I think there's pressure on Paul every year to ice a team that's going to have the capability of winning a championship, because that is what is expected. And I think when you can have that honor and when you can have that distinction upon you, that's a pretty good place to be. Paul always does such a great job of bringing in. They have a top-notch radio broadcaster as well. I know him. He's a great man. It's always fun to see what the Steinbach Pistons do. And it's cool to see how they can transition from a team that plays in their home arena for nearly 30 games a year to have so much success. It's almost impossible to win at the TG Smith Center, but then they can go on the road the next night into a bigger rink and have that same success. That just goes to show that things are being done really right in Steinbach, the Automobile City, and it's always a treat to watch for sure.